There are places where history feels like a straight line. You start with hunters, then farmers, then villages, then cities, then temples, then kings, then empires, a neat staircase through time. But sometimes the ground under that staircase breaks, and everything you think you know about the human story tilts. Göbekli Tepe is one of those breaks, a hill in southeastern Anatolia, quiet under the sun for thousands of years. No palaces, no inscriptions from famous kings, no written name to anchor it. Just stone, massive, deliberate, and older than almost anyone imagined sacred architecture could be. Today, we open the file of the temple that broke the timeline, and we ask the Cipher History question: why did people build a monument before they built a city? And what does that reveal about the hidden code of early civilization? To feel how radical Göbekli Tepe is, we need to enter the world it comes from. We are around 9600 BCE. The last ice age has just loosened its grip. The climate is warming. The forests are spreading. Herds move through the highlands. Rivers swell in spring. And humans live as hunter-gatherers. Not primitive animals. Not half-awake ancestors. Real humans with language, memory, humor, grief, ambition, and ritual. But humans who do not yet have agriculture. Not in the stable, village anchoring way we think of farming. They gather wild grains. They hunt gazelle, oryx, boar, and deer. They move with seasons. They camp where food is rich. In the traditional story, this kind of living does not produce stone temples. It produces small shrines at most. It produces portable spirituality. It does not produce a construction project that demands hundreds of hands, years of labor, and a plan strong enough to outlive a whole generation. Göbekli Tepe laughs at that assumption. When it was first excavated in the 1990s, archaeologists realized they were looking at something not only ancient, but architecturally sophisticated. Circular enclosures, walls made of fitted stone. At the center of each enclosure, to towering T-shaped pillars. Some of these pillars weigh 10 to 20 tons. They are carved, transported, and set upright with engineering that should not exist in a world without metal tools, without wheels, without domesticated animals for hauling. And these pillars are not blank. They are alive with images: foxes, serpents, boars, cranes, lions, scorpions, spiders, vultures with wings wide, abstract symbols repeating like a private alphabet, animals depicted in motion, in conflict, in dominance, a visual language stamped into stone. The pillars themselves are stylized humans. Their T-shape can be read as a head and body. Some have carved arms hugging the sides. Some have belts and loincloths. No faces, only presence. A congregation of stone beings watching the living. So the first shock is not only the age, it is the intention. This is not a campfire carving. This is a sanctuary. Now think about logistics. To carve a pillar that size, you need to quarry stone. You need to shape it with flint and stone tools. You need to smooth it. You need to carve reliefs in a consistent symbolic style. Then you need to move it across uneven terrain. Then you need to raise it into a prepared socket. Then you need to build walls around it. Then you need to repeat this pattern again and again across multiple enclosures. That means planning. That means leadership. That means social coordination on a scale far beyond a small hunting band. In short, it means society. So here is the timeline breaker. Göbekli Tepe suggests that complex social organization, and perhaps even hierarchy, existed before agriculture. Not after, before. If that is true, the staircase of civilization is not a staircase. It is a loop. Ritual may have come first. Belief may have pulled people together before food storage did. The temple may have created the village, not the other way around. This idea flips the script. Instead of saying, "We farmed, therefore we settled, therefore we built temples," Göbekli Tepe invites another sequence. We gathered for ritual. Therefore we settled near the ritual. Therefore we began farming to support it. Ritual as a magnet. Religion as infrastructure. Belief as the first architecture of civilization. But why gather there at all? Why this hill? Why this moment? To answer that, we need to imagine the landscape of the Fertile Crescent in the early Holocene. Wild wheat and barley grow in patches. Gazelle migrate in herds. Water is seasonal but available. This region is a feast compared to colder zones north and west. Human groups are many. They meet, compete, trade, marry, and feud. In such a world, a shared ritual center can stabilize identity. It can create alliances. It can reduce conflict by giving conflict a stage. It can turn scattered bands into something bigger. Göbekli Tepe might have been that stage, a neutral ground where clans came together, not every day, but seasonally, to feast, to bury, to share stories, to negotiate status, to remember the dead, to make meaning together. Evidence supports this picture. The site contains huge quantities of animal bones, especially gazelle and wild cattle, not the remains of daily meals, the remains of massive feasts, feasts big enough to feed hundreds at once, feasts that would require coordinated hunting or shared contributions. Feasting is not just eating. Feasting is politics. It is the oldest way humans turn food into community. So perhaps Göbekli Tepe was a feast temple complex, a place where ritual and appetite fused into one social engine. Now we come to the second shock. At some point, around 8000 BCE, the people who used Göbekli Tepe did something that looks almost unthinkable. They buried it. Enclosures were deliberately filled with rubble, stone, and refuse. Pillars were covered. Walls disappeared under soil. Then new enclosures were built on top. Then those were buried too. This was not abandonment by accident. It was closure by choice, which means Göbekli Tepe was not only a building project. It was a living ritual cycle, a sanctuary that could be retired, sealed like a tomb, and replaced by a new one. Why bury a temple you built with such labor? Because rituals change, because belief systems evolve, because a sacred space can become too powerful, too old, or too linked to a past that no longer fits. Or maybe because the people who once needed a seasonal gathering point no longer needed it the same way. Around this time, agriculture was emerging. The Neolithic revolution was underway. Humans began domesticating wheat, barley, sheep, and goats. Villages became permanent. Food storage expanded. Population density increased. If you no longer have to roam, you no longer have to gather at a central hill to keep your world together. Your home village becomes a new center. Your own fields become your ritual calendar. Göbekli Tepe may have been a bridge between worlds, a final cathedral of hunter-gatherers in the moment they were becoming farmers. If so, the burial was a farewell, a way of locking a sacred era into the earth with respect. Now, zoom in on the imagery again. What did these animals mean? Some researchers interpret the reliefs through the lens of myth and cosmology. Vultures and headless bodies might relate to excarnation rituals, exposing the dead to birds, then collecting bones. Serpents, foxes, and boars might be clan totems. The scorpions and spiders might be protective symbols. The repetition suggests a grammar, but Göbekli Tepe is not a Rosetta Stone. We cannot translate its language with certainty. We can only see that it is a language, a symbolic system dense enough to carry identity across generations without writing. That alone tells us something radical about early minds. The people who built this were not waiting for civilization to give them religion. They were building civilization through religion. Here's another layer of the cipher. Göbekli Tepe shows that humans organize around meaning even when survival is not guaranteed. In fact, especially when survival is not guaranteed. Because ritual is a way to make a cruel universe negotiable, to turn death into story, to turn uncertainty into pattern, to turn strangers into kin. And once strangers become kin, they can do things no band can do alone. They can quarry 10-ton pillars. They can move mountains. They can become a society. So Göbekli Tepe is not a mystery because it is old. It is a mystery because it reveals motive. We always ask, what made humans settle? Göbekli Tepe answers, humans settled because they wanted to gather for something bigger than food. Belief is a technology. It scales humans. Now, there is a final twist. Göbekli Tepe is not alone. Nearby sites in the region show similar monumental architecture, though smaller. Karahan Tepe, Neolithic, and others form a constellation of Neolithic sanctuaries. Together they suggest a cultural zone where ritual building was not an isolated miracle. It was a wave that spread through the Fertile Crescent as people experimented with new forms of life. In that wave, Göbekli Tepe is the brightest point, not because it's singular, but because it survived almost intact under its own burial. Now, what does all this mean for the timeline? It means that the Neolithic revolution was not only economic, it was psychological, it was social, it was spiritual. Agriculture did not simply appear as a practical upgrade. It may have been prompted by the demands of ritual life, by feasts, by gatherings, by the need to support a growing sacred community. In other words, the first farms may have been built to feed the first temples. The temple broke the timeline because it broke the logic we assumed created temples. And that brings us to the Cipher History conclusion. Göbekli Tepe is not just a prehistoric site. It is a message from the origin of human society. A cipher carved in stone at the moment we switch from wandering to building. It tells us that civilization is not a straight line from hunger to city. It is a loop from belief to cooperation to survival. It tells us that humans are meaning hunters even before they are farmers. And it tells us that when enough humans share a story, they can raise stones heavier than their own bodies and bury them when a new story replaces the old. This was Göbekli Tepe, the temple that broke the timeline, a place where our ancestors proved something we keep needing to relearn. We do not build communities only to live. We live so we can build communities. Thank you for watching the Cipher History. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep decoding the secrets of history together. See you in the next mystery.